Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to
Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men. We will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
It's a blessing to be in the position, and we're just thankful to be here. We're thankful to have the opportunity to go out there and play in front of the 12 man.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies. What are we, 24 days away, something like that?
Well, let's see. What's today, the 6th?
Yeah.
And the game's on the 30th? My White Oak education would tell me that is exactly right. 24 days until.
It feels closer than that.
It feels like 3.5 weeks.
Yeah. When you do it in your head like that, it does feel exactly like 3.5 weeks. Did you learn anything yesterday from the press conference with the coordinators, Jay Bateman, Colin Klein, and of course head coach Mike Elko?
Let's see, learn?
Or did you anything come away with like, okay?
Well, you know, there's no significant injuries yet, and hopefully there won't be. That's always. I think it was more reaffirming things than had things that were confirmed and reaffirmed that more than learned.
Okay.
What did you learn?
I'm going to play some sound from yesterday, but I keep reaffirming, I keep learning, reaffirming the quiet confidence that he has in this team, right? Like, it's not a cocky braggadocious. It's just like, look, we know what we got to do, and I think we're going to do it.
Yeah, I think he says before, you know, I know what this team is capable of.
Mm-hmm.
And capable of makes you feel really good because I think he feels like they're capable of doing great things. But again, capable of actually doing, you know, I think personally that I was always capable of becoming ultra successful. Didn't quite do it. So you still got to do it.
Folks in White Oak would say about you right now, though. They say you're pretty uber successful.
Seriously, I can't believe they're paying him to talk when we spent our whole time with him trying to get him to shut up.
So, and one of the things I learned, we'll hear this probably closer to 8:30, how Jay Bateman described some of their pass rush issues. And I thought, you know what? It was a interesting perspective that I thought of it, but I don't know if I gave it the weight that I think he described it with. So we'll get into that.
Question.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I think the answer was actually what I liked about it. Like, so we'll get into that here in a little bit. I probably shouldn't tease something 32 minutes away. The other thing is, what a great answer from a coach about your starting 22.
Yeah.
Because the reality is, we all know there are certain positions that's our starter, right?
Trey Zune is going to start at left tackle.
Or somewhere.
He's going to start at left tackle.
Yeah.
And Amaj Reed Adams is going to start at right guard, and Chase Pizantes is going to start at left guard, and Marcel Reed's going to start at quarterback. Will Lee's going to be the right. I can guarantee you Will Lee will start at corner, and Torian York's going to start at linebacker. Yes, there are some.
But you got to, even for the starters, right? You got to make them feel like that position is not guaranteed. Mm. Do you agree or disagree?
Yeah. Some guys, are going to, like Albert Regis is going to, I believe, is the type of guy that's going to give you everything he's got in every play.
Right.
And so you don't have to worry about him. But there are other guys that are really talented, and they're probably going to be in your start lineup. But sometimes, they've been known to, like some guys here, known to take a play or two or a quarter off.
Right.
And then they transfer to Ole Miss.
Let's listen to Coach Elko talk about the starting 22, if he's already figured that part of it out.
I'm a poor coach if 5 practices in in my mind, I know who the 22 are going to be. I think that's a poor reflection of me and how we run a program, in my opinion. And I understand what you're asking me, and there's certainly guys who you look at a large body of work and assume it would be very challenging for them to get beat out. But it's still, I think, our job as coaches to create an environment where everything is up for grabs every single day, and that you allow competition to drive performance to a higher level. And so in that end, no. I mean, in that end, there's 22 open spots, and there's the ability every day for someone to come out and elevate themselves, not only into the top 22, but into a higher role, into more reps, into more opportunities. And I just think that's what you owe your locker room. And nobody wants to be part of a program where they feel as though the 22 are set regardless of what performance looks like over the course of 4 weeks. And so to that end, we want it to be very competitive between now and the opener, and then when the opener comes around, we'll figure out which 22 we're going to put out there.
Let's play a game real quick, okay?
Okay.
Let's say that a radio station starts here in town, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to call 11:55.
Okay.
The bleachers, okay? 11:55, the bleachers, okay? Let's say they come out
Everybody
with
has blonde hair.
Yeah. And they come out with a Texas A&M football-centric show from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m.
Okay.
While I am very proud of the show that we do here, do you think that would maybe, I don't want to say get our attention, but get our juices going? Because I think it would. Oh, you think you can come to my neighborhood and take my showtime? Nuh-uh, let's go.
Yeah, let's make it even better. Yeah, but nobody does because we already bring the juice. But yes, your point is well taken.
No matter what position at work, if they bring in a young hotshot social center person, Nygren's like, this guy's coming for my airtime, right? Like, it brings the best out of you out, I believe.
Yeah, or like in Nygren's case, because he came in here and established himself, and all of a sudden some just walk away.
Right.
But yes, your point is well taken. When you are challenged, if you have a championship pedigree, you rise to the challenge. You face that challenge.
He talks about creating a culture where there's competition every day. Now, that doesn't mean that Armage he knows he's going to start, right? That being said, every day having to compete, not necessarily for your spot, for your pride, for the moment, to get better. There's a different way to compete. You can compete and just go through the motions, or you can get the absolute best out of you. And if somebody around your territory is coming for that, or it has that mentality, it will raise your game.
That's the whole iron sharpens iron thing, or what is it? Something about lifting the high tide or whatever, lifting ships, whatever. Look, I just know this. Ashton Funk, he's a backup offensive lineman. If he starts knocking people around consistently in practice, at some point you got to say, I can't keep this guy off the field. You got to find a way to get him on.
Yep, 100%. The other thing that I wanted to get to in this segment, at least, is you asked a good question. I think when you ask questions, I know where your mind's going, right? You're thinking 3 steps ahead.
This is my column I'm going to write for this day, so I need to ask this column.
I didn't say that, but
I'm telling
you were. But yes, that was part of your strategy. You asked about the big plays, right?
Yeah. Big running in the running game.
And Coach Elko, talks a little bit more than just the running game. He expounded on that. So let's listen to Coach Elko on what happens on these big plays and how to stop it.
The big runs happen, 2 ways. They happen, one, because of a misfit or somebody being out of a gap, which certainly happened at times, not a ton, but at times. Where we got in a lot of trouble last year was losing perimeter leverage, whether that was a run that kind of got through and then got outside, or a run that was designed to get outside. We did a really poor job at times of leveraging the football properly. And so, what you do is you go out and you put all of them on tape. You show them to the guys consistently. When you get into practice now, like when you point something out in practice and you say, okay, hey, this is the run from South Carolina, like this is the play right here, this is the decision you make that costs you the ability to, there's a little bit more understanding of how it can impact them, whereas maybe last year in fall camp you were saying, hey, don't do this, You kind of get a little bit of the, but they don't really know the issue with doing that, if that makes any sense. And so I think when you're talking specifically about, like, hey, that's why we gave up a big play at South Carolina, that's why we gave up a big run against Notre Dame, it hits home a little bit more and makes those problems a little bit more fixable. And so you hope that just continues to go as we go through camp.
What do you think of that?
I do think once you can tell a guy, hey, you got to keep your outside shoulder open or free, because if they're going to hook you, then they're going to get. And he's I got it. And then they may do certain things that get them caught up.
Yep.
And then you show them on film. See what you did, and now look at Rocket Sanders running 52 yards.
Right.
And this is how you'd rather get it taught before the game and they understand. But a lot of times after it happens, I know I'm the kind of guy that I learned by someone showing me more than like reading something out of a book. So when you're telling me this, I'm like, what? Oh,
I see what you mean.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
So that is a reason that A&M might be better in that regard this year. And they need to be, because I've got a column coming up in a couple days and it's going to show the numbers of, A&M, I don't have the actual numbers in front of me, so it might be off. I got to look at them again. But A&M on 19 running plays, gave up like 570 yards on 19 running plays. They gave up 19 plays of 20 yards, running plays of 20 yards or more. If you take those 19 plays away, A&M gave up something like 3 yards a carry, maybe even less. If you took those 19 plays out, A&M's in the top 10 in run defense last year.
Unfortunately, you can't take out those 19 plays. I think the theme this offseason, along with finish, which is, I know, a big thing for them, is correcting. And that's coaching, right?
Absolutely.
But I feel like that's what Coach Elko did when he got here, corrected some things that were obvious, and now he's correcting this year's team, some of the things that we saw from last year.
Yeah, and if they're able to sufficiently correct them, and look, you're going to give up big plays. Sometimes the other guy just has a good day. But you want to decrease those. And if you could do that, that was the Achilles heel for A&M, was on defense. Run game and pass game was giving up the big play. So
the Notre Dame game.
Absolutely. It's really two big runs that were the difference in that game.
Correct. South Carolina, there were a lot of big plays in that game. Mm-hmm. And big plays that you missed, by the way, also kind of changed the way that game went.
Right.
USC, I don't even know if that game that was just some blunders.
It wasn't the running game that hurt them so much in that game. It was the passing game, as Mike Elko made it very clear afterward.
Hey, this is TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. He's Olin Buchanan. I'm David Nuño, and we are currently hanging out in the
Holistic Planning Cool Zone.
It's cool here, isn't it?
It is pretty cool.
If you want to be a part of the conversation, call us up, 979-693-1150. You can call us on the Buppies Catering and Bartending Hotline, or you can text that number as well, 979-693-1150. We'll go around the room, left to right. Behind the glass is Nick Savage, our director. Nick, good morning.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
Hello, sir.
Howdy. Have y'all gotten a chance to look into or watch the new Netflix documentary, Any Given Saturday, yet?
Not
I know it
yet.
just came out yesterday, so it's like
not yet. I have mixed emotions about it, Nick.
Why is that? You weren't asked to be in it?
I might be in it. You don't know.
Oh.
Okay. You never. No. My mixed emotions are, I don't know how much of last season I want to relive.
Good point. Well, I don't want to.
We relive it every day.
I can think of two games I like reliving.
Well, I think one of those games will be there.
Yeah, LSU.
Probably. Not really.
Oh,
I
no?
kind of watched it, and it was like brief. Anyways.
You watched the whole show?
No.
Well, don't they have episodes?
They do. I watched the two that were kind of A&M focused. They're the one at the very end, I think it's like episode 7's really focused on Coach Elko, and it gives a pretty cool look behind the scenes and at a practice, but it focuses on the Texas game, so it's like kind of a, don't want to really, like you said, relive it, but
yeah,
I mean, it's worth.
Two I was thinking of.
Yeah, it's worth, and it follows Tori and York as well, so it's neat. It's a cool look behind the scenes, and I think it's at least worth a skim over for that.
Nick, so when you watch Game of Thrones, did you go straight to the Red Wedding? You just skipped everything before?
I've
Breaking
never
Bad, the
watched Game
last
of Thrones.
episode? You went to El Camino, whatever the show's
Breaking
called?
Bad.
Huh?
Never watched either of those shows.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
So stupid.
You know this. I don't watch television, movies.
But you'll skip an entire season
I
of the
will
SEC
cherry
show.
pick, yes, the SEC show to just watch the A&M stuff.
I should know the name of it. What's the name of the show?
Any Given Saturday.
Any Given Saturday.
Wow, that's original.
Yeah. We could change the name of this show. Any Given Morning.
Any Given Morning, yes. Are we going to spell it with a U, morning, M-O-U-R-N-I?
Yes. Hopefully not too often.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
Hopefully not this year.
Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and social censor Reese Nygren. Hello, Reese.
Good morning. How are y'all?
Good.
When you ask that, do you really care?
Yeah.
Like, is the answer like you're...
I think Reese does care.
Yeah,
he's from LaGrange. They're good folks down there.
I care about how y'all's day is going, even if it's only been an hour long.
For people who are 2%ers, some of us got up hours ago.
No.
Sorry, go ahead.
Mine's like an hour long before I get here. So Le'Veon Moss and Reuben Owens were both selected to the Doak Walker Award preseason watch list. Moss looks to be among the best running backs in the country, rushing for 765 yards and 10 touchdowns in just 9 games in 2024. Owens is a breakout candidate as he returns to health after rushing for just 66 yards in 2 games in 2024. Moss and Owens are looking to become the first Aggie to win the Doak Walker Award since it became an award in 1990.
Surprising with all the great running backs A&M's had since those years.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they got people like LaDainian Tomlinson.
He was pretty good. He was pretty...
Ricky Williams.
Pretty good.
Yeah. But and then, the guy in my recent memory that could have and should have won and even more would have been Devon A-Chain, and they just botched that whole situation.
Yeah. What else you have for us, Niagara?
The Texas A&M women's basketball conference schedule was released. Their slate includes home games against South Carolina, who was the national runner-up last season and the 2022 national champion, as well as LSU, who made it to the Elite Eight in 2024 and was the 2023 national champion.
Mr. Niagara, great stuff. Am I from OB?
Yeah.
Not necessarily hungry yet.
No.
Okay. But I know like at around 10:31,
yeah,
I'm going to start thinking about lunch. Okay.
Yeah.
Now today's Wednesday. I can't take advantage of that. But tomorrow, Friday,
and Saturday,
where could I go?
You could go to 1775 going toward Snook, but don't go that far. You don't have to go to the cemetery out there.
Yeah.
You can just pull off just a couple miles out of town.
Yep.
And get this amazing barbecue at 17. This amazing Texas barbecue.
Start with the turkey.
Let me tell you something. That's some good turkey. It's juicy. It's healthy. It's tasty.
Yeah. Tryptophan.
Even though I have to admit, if I'm there, I'm probably either going for the pork ribs or the jalapeno cheese sausage or that succulent brisket, or quite frankly, I'm probably getting the sampler and having some of all of it.
I think the sampler's the way to go.
I do. And then, of course, you got to get the queso mac and cheese.
You got to get the queso mac and cheese. Yeah, and if you don't believe us, take the taste test, right?
Yeah.
We should do a TexAgs taste test there.
Yeah. Because usually people tell me I'm tasteless, but...
Well, you know how to taste some food.
I'll taste it. I've already tasted it, and I want to taste it again.
It is 1775. Check out the website, 1775txbbq.com, or call them up, 979-492-6241.
Tasty.
Hey everyone, David Nuño and Olin Buchanan and OB. Typically we start off the show in this section, and we call it the Holistic Planning Cool
The cool zone, yeah. It's pretty cool.
What do we know about holistic planning?
Well, a lot of cool stuff. For instance, holistic planning can help you with your investments.
I love that.
They can help you with your taxes. So
I don't like paying taxes.
You can get that money from your investments and they keep it. They'll help you keep it away from the government.
Yep.
Not all of it, but more of it. And then they'll even help you with your estate planning. When you're old like me, you got to make sure some of that money you made is there for when you want to retire and just enjoy the rest of your life.
You want your estate to be planned. But they also do something else.
Yeah, well, if you are, like, say, a sports fan, and you've always wanted to...
Everybody watching us, right?
Yeah. And you want to always dream of being an owner, well, in a certain way you can, because they will broker the deal for you to invest in pro sports.
Yeah, what you need to do is check out investinprosports.com. That's where you can get all the information if you want to invest in a team. I don't know what team. He'd probably try to buy the Cowboys. I'd try to buy a lot of the Houston teams. Whatever it may be, investinprosports.com. It is holistic planning, and we love hanging out at the Holistic Planning Cool Zone. Obi, I feel like this song would, if you liked current country, that you'd be all over it.
I just heard a little bit of it, but it sounded good.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was it?
I Never Lie. Zach Top.
Zach Top?
Yeah.
Wonder what his middle name is. Hopefully Zeke.
Zeke?
Then he can be ZZ Top and move to LaGrange.
I knew that sound was coming.
I can't say LaGrange without doing the laugh.
Should we do 25 and 25?
We should.
It's presented by somebody.
It is.
Yeah. La Casa Tequila. Raised in Aggie Land and rooted in
the SEC.
Yeah. Let's do number 13 on the list. DJ Hicks.
Who used to wear number 13.
Does he not still wear it?
I think he's changed his number. Did he not change his number to 5?
I don't know. Maybe.
I think.
I don't know if the website's
maybe
yet. You might be right.
I might be delirious. But DJ Hicks is this guy that we're counting on to have that breakout year now that he's going to be a full-time starter.
Yep.
You know?
He is number 5. There you go.
And he was a 5-star when he got here. So he should be number 5. And let's see if he becomes a star. I think there's no doubt he has ability, great talent, explosiveness. We've seen the flashes of what he can be. But, A&M was actually pretty, been good at DT. And so he hadn't played that much, not as much as you would like to see. There's an example of him, knocking down a pass against USC, wearing number 13, by the way. And he assisted on a sack against LSU. Again, you see the flashes of him. And now that he's going to be or I should say projects to be a full-time starter, because Mike Elko told us in the last segment that, they're all open. But, this could be the year that he just bursts out. I'm not going to say he's going to be like Justin Madubuike in terms of production, but like Justin Madubuike took a couple of years to just break out and, be if not a dominant force, be an extremely productive player.
So I found a quote from Elko this offseason. Might have been right around the spring game. DJ Hicks is probably the guy who is going to step up to that limelight this year and fulfill his potential. And
if he fulfills his potential, he's an all-conference guy.
Yeah.
That's how much potential he has.
If he fulfills his potential, he's probably a day 1 draft pick, right?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Right? Looks like he's added some muscle, as most of these guys have.
Yeah, they obviously. I wonder what the, what was the message that Elko sent to, I'm sure he and Moffitt got together and said, okay, this is what we need to do because these guys do look different.
He, and when we talked about stopping the big runs, he's going to play a big part of that.
Absolutely.
Stopping that gap.
The defensive tackle. Look, I'm going to tell you this. We always talk about quarterbacks and, big play receivers. If you win the SEC championship, I guarantee you have got just absolute stud defensive interior linemen.
Yeah.
I'm going way back to LSU with Glenn Dorsey and Ricky Jean-Francois to all those Alabama teams. Remember Quinnen Williams?
Yeah.
When Auburn was really good, they had Nick Fairley. You go back, and I guarantee you, if you're good in the SEC, you've got, if not dominant, really good defensive tackles.
More than one.
More than one.
Yeah, they're absolutely going to need that. Looking at his career totals, 30 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks through 24 games. Last year, sack and a half, 2.5 tackles for loss.
Yeah, and I could see, I think he has 30 tackles in his career as a backup lineman. Don't be surprised if he exceeds that total this year. And now, look, 30 in a year, 30 tackles is a really good total for an interior lineman.
Yep.
A lot of times what they're doing, as you know, even McKinley Jackson didn't put up huge numbers, or Bobby Brown, is they're getting in there and they're just taking up blockers so Torian York can go get them.
Well, one thing that I love about him is that he has been patient. He has waited his turn.
Mm-hmm.
It is not often in today's world that a 5-star talent like DJ Hicks will wait, because there were guys that are obviously in the NFL right now and already making some noise, right? Yeah. But he waited his turn, OB.
Yeah, and again, this could be the year that it all pays off.
Mm-hmm.
If he reaches that potential, like Coach Elko was talking about, then he could be as dominant as any of those guys that was mentioned before.
He could be one of the most crucial players on this team.
And I don't want to bring up I don't want to bring up the individuals, but I'm going to as much as I hate to say it, Texas, they had some guys last year that throughout their careers, they were okay as defensive tackles, and then last year emerged.
Yeah.
And became, pretty high draft picks. And I think, it's probably predictable to see the same out of DJ this year.
All right. So in the next segment, let's get into that, Jay Bateman soundbite where he talks about their lack of a pass rush. And he gave some, I thought, a very interesting answer in a good way. Like, I got it. Like, I understood his perspective. I think the audience will as well. Right now, we're talking Rollo Insurance. They offer comprehensive consultation for businesses of all sizes with particular experience and expertise in family-owned operations. They have independent agents that provide a clear guidance on liability, property, workers' comp, and specialized coverage. Every business faces unique risk, from industry-specific liabilities to location-based hazards. And Rollo Insurance, their business specialists, take time to understand the operation and your specific vulnerabilities and growth plan. They'll create a strategy that scales with your company, preventing coverage gaps that could threaten everything you have built. As your business evolves, your Rollo agent becomes a valuable resource to your risk management team and beyond. What you need to do is call them up and find out all about it. The number is 888-44-ROLLO. That is 888-44-ROLLO. Go to rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. That is rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs.
Let's talk a little Snaps clothing. David Nuño here, and I love wearing Snaps clothing everywhere. I've got the flannel on right now. You've seen me in the Tailgater collection with the A&M gear. It is fantastic. If you see me around town with my sons, Christian and Cruz, they've got a bunch of Snaps gear. When they have big games for Consol, they wear nice clothes, so they wear their Snap stuff. And I'm telling you, with baseball season here, let's all kind of go looking stylish and fit to the games there at Olsen wearing the Snaps clothing. As a reminder, they are the only official licensed Texas A&M Pearl Snaps maker out there. Their Tailgater collection is built for game day with breathable, moisture-wicking fabrics to keep you comfortable while you rep your Aggies in style. Now, whether you're watching the game from home or maybe you're in attendance, you're tailgating, whatever it may be, you got to make sure you head to snapsclothing.com to see everything they have to offer. It is fashionable, it is awesome, and you're going to love it. Nick, I'm used to country music from 1981 on the show. We've had some current music. Did you have anything to do with this? Because I know you're anti-bro country.
Well, I am, but no, I had nothing to do with Cody Johnson being played.
Ah, so you know who it is.
Everyone knows who Cody Johnson is, yes.
Obi doesn't.
Cody who?
Yeah, see, told you. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. The Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. I'm monitoring the YouTube page. Okay. And there's a comment that caught my attention.
All right.
Okay. Brad, who's already talking about, did you see this comment, Reese?
The alien invasion.
Yeah, you want to read it?
Yeah, Brad Duncan.
Well, let me before you do it.
Okay.
He put something about his BAS being at an all-time high right now, which I'm like, balderdash, as Bronny would say, right? That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But then I scrolled up a little bit more to see what he said, and he said,
If the alien invasion comes in November like people are predicting, at least we won't have to witness the inevitable November collapse.
which made me Google alien invasion because I wasn't aware that there's an alien invasion coming.
Yeah, I thought we stopped that.
No, well, I saw this. I didn't know they thought it was an alien. There is like some orb that is traveling to Earth.
Okay. We're talking about from another galaxy.
Yeah, Star-Lord. And I just read an article. The exact date when the alien ship, quote unquote, is expected to arrive on Earth, a frightening warning is given. A Harvard scientist, by the way, they're smart.
Yes, allegedly.
Has issued a dire warning about a strange interstellar object that is speeding through our solar system and could pose a threat to Earth. Professor Avi Loeb, known for his bold and often polarizing theories, well, there we go, it's fake.
Fake news.
Says this was first discovered on July 1st. I've seen like little things about it. I didn't know they thought it could be an alien. This guy says it could be carrying a probe or even a weapon. He predicts such a vehicle would reach the Earth between November 21st and December the 5th.
Okay. At least I want to make sure I get Thanksgiving in there.
I do want to get the SEC championship game potentially. At least right now I want to think about it.
So this is going to be like War of the Worlds?
Or it could be a friendly alien. Why do they got to be mean?
Well, because he says they're armed.
Well, he doesn't really know. He said they could be armed.
Oh, could be.
Just like if somebody showed up at your house at 3 a.m., doesn't mean they're a criminal.
No.
Probably does, though.
Yeah.
And now you think about it, they're definitely a criminal if they're just showing up randomly inside your house at 3 a.m. Yeah. Now that you mention that. Anyway, can we be criminals going after the quarterback this year, OB?
Let's hope. Well, yeah, let's hope so.
So that I asked Coach Bateman yesterday, was it missed opportunities? What was it? And scheme does matter, OB.
It does.
And here's an answer.
I think we did miss some opportunities. I do think, there were some times towards the middle of the season, towards the end of the season, where we had to, manage the defensive line in such a way that maybe limited their ability on normal downs to rush the passer, right? We were concerned about some things in the back seven. And so I think now that we feel stronger back there, I do think we've got some kids that have real edge pass rush. I think Tyler Onyedum's been really good so far. So I think as the coverage is we feel better about the coverage. I think we'll allow those kids to rush the passer more. And I think, those three kids were great players. They understood what we had to ask them to do some. And so, I think there were some missed opportunities. I think there were some schematic adjustments we had to make that I don't think we'll have to do anymore.
I don't remember us talking about that during the season as much. I know it came up. I think Billy brought it up. But it is interesting.
Here's what I don't get. What I don't get. Look, and I get it. Look. Mike Elko and all those guys, they're experts in what they're doing. So they're playing chess. I'm playing checkers. I'm playing Chinese checkers.
Okay.
Can you still do that?
I don't know if we're allowed to.
You remember, did you ever have that?
Never played it in my life.
But you know the game.
I've heard the name.
You've heard of it? Reese, you've heard of it? I've heard of it. Okay,
Yeah.
maybe they call it something else.
Let's just call it something else.
But here's the point.
Let's call it Bryan College Station checkers.
Here's the point. I'm probably just not smart enough to understand, but it seems to me that if you're having problems in the back seven of coverage, that the best thing to do then is get a stronger pass rush and not say, well, we had to do some things that limited our pass rush because we're worried about the back seven. And I'm like, well, if your back seven can't cover, then the best thing I can do is get people coming on like Nick Scorton sacking Garrett Nussmeier, because when they started getting on to Garrett Nussmeier last year, all of a sudden they weren't making plays you were getting interceptions because he was under pressure, right?
Okay.
I always go back to that. And look, it was the previous coach, the one with the grin, that Miami game. when they had the ability to pass rush, and I'm not saying that the Aggies did this last year, but remember in that game they only rushed 3, and they left their freshman corners out on an island one-on-one, and they just got toasted, and they couldn't figure out, well, maybe the best thing to do was to put that quarterback under pressure so he couldn't take advantage so often of the poor coverage.
How many quarterbacks did they face that were statues?
Last year?
Nussmeier.
Well,
Quinn Ewers looked like he was Carl Lewis for a play or two.
yeah,
which
on one play that should have been a sack.
So the way I see it is
Mertz, but he was only in there about half the game.
Yeah. And both quarterbacks struggled. And I think Mertz played better in the second half.
Riley Leonard ran well.
He did.
That's a good question. I hadn't thought about that.
I think that plays a part.
Taylor Green runs well.
He does. I think it plays a part, but
that kid from Mississippi State who's out of
Michael Van Buren,
he ran pretty well. I
he
think
was pretty good. Yeah. So
that Sellers guy ran. Man, he ran well.
I think what they were trying to do is disguise what they were doing, and
Peyton Thorne ran well.
You know what? I did call him Joe Montana going into that game. I did say this guy could be.
So anyway, your point.
Joe Montana at 66. Anyway, my point is, they obviously felt that their defensive backs were on an island, and when I think offenses recognized, dude, these guys are struggling here. We're just going to throw the ball quick and get it out and get. And I think they had to disguise coverage and pull some guys back and help in zone.
Okay. Didn't want to blitz as much and all those things. All right. Like I said, I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying it seems to me that if you have trouble in coverage, the best thing to do then is get a strong pass rush. Now, if you have a really good quarterback that can read the hot routes and doesn't get flustered, then yeah, you're leaving yourself open to big plays. And A&M didn't give up. Well, wait a minute, maybe they did.
Which elite quarterbacks did they face last year?
Elite quarterback.
Elite. Quinn Ewers was in the elite conversation, right?
He did an elite job leading his team, and he was drafted in the NFL, and he quarterbacked a team to within a few plays of maybe getting to the national championship. Lenoris Sellers played like one. Yeah, that's for sure.
Especially the second half of the year. Who else?
Nussmeier.
Who's elite in the first half.
Yeah, and you know what? Riley Leonard isn't elite in terms of the numbers that he put out.
But elite presence.
But in terms of the way, a gamer and Reese is pointing to his head, so a smart quarterback. Yeah.
Who else was the elite quarterback? Peyton Thorne was not elite.
Maybe on one play. Actually,
Jaden Mavia was not elite.
He had a heck of a game against A&M, though, unfortunately.
Yep.
Yeah. Had, 3 touchdown passes?
Mm-hmm.
Was it 3? Anyway.
Taylor Green, not elite, but really good. I think he's a good quarterback.
I think he's a good quarterback, but no, he's not elite. But he's a good quarterback.
Who else? Who am I missing?
Again,
Lagway was early in his career.
I thought, and I'm glad he did, but I thought Napier made a big mistake by not staying with Graham Mertz more.
Yep. And then you mentioned Michael Van Buren. Was not elite, but was really good in stretches last year.
Yeah. A&M played some good quarterbacks, but just a few that you would even discuss as possibly being elite.
All right, let's hit a break here. When we come back, we're going to talk a little Jerome Miles.
Okay.
I'm excited about Jerome Miles.
I am too. He's a good-looking athlete.
Yeah. If you want to be a part of the conversation, you got a question, 979-693-1150. All right, whether you're chasing the birds at sunrise, casting the lines for the bow, or sweating it out during a scorcher at Kyle Field, Duck Camp is the gear to keep you cool, comfortable, and looking sharp no matter where the day takes you. I've got a bunch of Duck Camp gear. I know OB does. A lot of folks here at TexAgs do. The clothing is fantastic for any situation you find yourself in, especially if it's going to be one of those long days where you have multiple things to do. You can wear it to church. You can wear it to the gym. You can wear it hunting. You can wear it fishing. You can just wear it around town. You can wear it to work. I've done it many, many times. It is Duck Camp. They've got awesome gear. The fishing shirts are built for the flats, but clean enough for the tailgate. You get the essential hoodie, soft and comfortable, the scout shorts, and the lightweight performance hoodie. So if you're gearing up for a big hunt, and I know many of you will be soon, fishing trips, just trying to survive that September in College Station, Duck Camp has you covered. Check it all out at duckcamp.com. Built for the outdoors and designed for everything else. What are you laughing at?
Oh, it just made me think. This song, one time Richard Zane was hosting, and he's talking about how much he hated that song. And he said the girl in the song is named Emmy Lou.
Yeah.
He says nobody's ever named Emmy Lou. I said, well, actually, one of the bigger female stars of country music is named Emmy Lou. He's like, well, who? I had to educate him on Emmy Lou Harris.
Did you check yes or no?
The guy is doing the. Oh no, I guess
I thought it was an autobiography. No. Is that a true story?
Might be. I would have probably checked yes if any girl was asking me if I liked her.
Yeah. And yes. They would have checked.
In this case, they're sending me. No, what they were doing is they were sending it to me so I could check yes, and then they gonna make fun of me.
Right. Let's get a super chat.
Look at me now. How do you like me now?
How do you like me now? Good song. Super chat, CatAg.
Yeah, he said, did Elko say in the press conference the team essentially gets 8 practices and full pads? That seems crazy low, and wondering if this is due to NCAA rules.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is. So,
yes.
And I don't remember when they changed the rules, but 25 practices roughly, right? Heading into, and I looked it up. So you can have up to 8 full contact practices during your fall camp. And you cannot have 3 full contact practices in a row. You cannot have more than that. Excuse me. You can have 3. You can't have more than 3.
Look, this isn't just Elko. If there were no limits, I would say that they would have. If you have 25 practices, they'd have 21 of them. 22 of them would probably be in full pads. If from coaches.
Back in your day.
Oh my gosh.
Leather helmet days. I mean, you guys practiced.
We had face masks and everything, but when I was in high school, they still did the 2-a-days where you showed up in the morning and went home and then came back at night.
My day too.
And we didn't have the water available. You got one break.
Oh, we had water.
No, we didn't. We got one break, and everybody's probably 50 or over remembers this. You got 1 cup of Gatorade, but you had this much ice in it. So you drank what little Gatorade you have there, and then you put your ice in your helmet
to
try to cool you off because, It's different now. It's better now. If you're thirsty, you go get a drink of water. So people don't,
Back in my day, not that long ago, we had the pipe with the little holes in it, and the water would spit it out.
No, we didn't have that. Oh. We got one break, and you got that little Dixie cup full of ice, and but we're probably tougher then. You know what? At the end of practice, though. Our cheerleaders would be in the.
Your cheerleaders went to practice?
They'd be at the field house with a big cooler full of Kool-Aid.
That's healthy.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It was wet. It was cold and it was wet.
OB, let's hear from Coach Elko on Jerome Miles, because what I took away from this answer was kind of like Terry Bussey. Yeah, he's good. He's going to be really good. But let's slow down on expectations for a freshman.
Well, I think it's more about because
of his injury.
Let's move him in slowly.
Yeah. So here's Coach Elko on Jerome Miles.
He was not healthy when we got him. He ran track in the spring, but that was straight line. He was not ready to cut, to decelerate, to do the things a football player needed to do on that knee. And so he's really been rehabbing a lot since we've got him. Now, we can rehab him and still evaluate him. And so obviously there's an athletic skill set that he brings to the table that is really unique. He's tall, he's big, and he can really run. Last night was the first night we were able to really clear him and get him out there and running around and doing some things, and certainly catches the eye with his ability to do that. Now, I've said this to my son, who asks me this question every single day: how does he look? There's a long gap between being able to go out there on air and look athletic and being able to go out there and run routes and get open and be where you need to be. And so, we'll see what it looks like over the next 20 days, but there's certainly a skill set there that we're really excited about.
Look, you got a guy like that, take your time.
Yep.
Bring him along slowly, make sure he's healthy. You don't want to worry secretariat until you get that thing in his mouth fixed.
Right.
But I think he's going to be a really valuable addition to this team. And maybe even this year. But I think bringing in the guys you brought in allows you not to try to rush him into action.
Agreed. So I'm going to read this one for you, OB. While I don't disagree, I do disagree.
Okay.
Actually, Reese, since you're laughing, you know what comment I'm going to read.
From Chance?
Yeah. Chance, who I've already Googled.
Yeah.
And I've seen the cringy pics as well. Go ahead.
He says OB and Nuño are both so cringe sometimes.
Now, he is right. We are cringe.
I think I'm a full-time cringer.
But we are the definition of cool cringe.
I'm probably not. Maybe you are.
Stack this guy up against any other, what are you, 71?
I'm 60, almost 64.
I was kidding. I knew that. I was just playing with you.
Almost.
How many other 61-year-olds are as hip and cool as you?
60. Oh, none.
Yeah.
But I might be gonna have to get a replacement hip before too long.
This is true.
So a replacement hip and cool.
Chance, now after that comment, you're correct. We are cringe.
Well, why are we cringe? As he gives us an example of why he feels like we're cringy? I would think I'm not all the way cringe. I'm kind of on the fringe of cringe.
On the fringe of cringe.
Yeah.
Nightgrain, are we cringe?
Sometimes.
You're fired.
Okay.
I don't think you have the ability to do that, but you're right. You're fired. Anyway, I don't know. I'm derailed now. That hurt. Chance, I was going to invite you over
He said all love, by the way.
Yeah. Now I call you out.
It's like bless your heart.
The guy has never commented on a YouTube page because I have the records to show. Never. First comment, cringe.
So,
if you have nothing nice to say, don't say it at all.
You can insult anybody if you say bless your heart or all love, right? You really look like an idiot. You're ugly. You are very ugly.
They started off with no offense.
All love.
Yeah, no offense. No offense taken.
No offense.
I think you're kind of right. Chance. Take a chance on this show and comment more often. Something
last
positive,
chance,
bro. Last chance, you. That was cringe.
It was pretty cringy.
Yeah. When we come back, a guy who's not cringe, I don't think. John Harris, the professor, next on Live. Thanks, Opie.
Yeah.
We're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Hour number 2 of the program. Let's go straight to the Buppies Catering and Bartending Hotline. John Harris, Houston Texans sideline reporter, my good friend, footballtakeover.com founder. Johnny, good morning, buddy.
Morning, David. It is 62 degrees here in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. Texans about to kick off their third day of practice. Looks like jerseys and ball caps, no helmets. So it's a nice little walkthrough day, which will be kind of good for them because they've been banging the last couple of days. But, man, it's been good to be back at the Greenbrier experience. 62 degrees during practice. So I think when we left the Saturday before we left Saturday, it was 92 during that practice. And then we ought to get on a plane and fly here. So it's been a good respite from that. We'll get ready to play Minnesota on Saturday.
Johnny, if I remember correctly, I went a couple of times with you to the Greenbrier. It was a nice change of pace. The weather was fantastic, cool place. But let's get to the real business.
Yeah.
The chat says I'm kind of cringy. You remember when I was cool, right? There was a time that I had game. I was not cringy. There was a time, right?
Wait, what's they're saying you're cringy? What'd you do?
Old man humor, apparently. I've got to the, almost near 50-year-old humor. Apparently I'm, kind of hurts.
Listen, last night we had a dinner. We had a dinner with our Texans people that do our videography and our PR, and of course Mark and I are there. And Mark and I are the two oldest in that group, and it was kind of interesting being around the 20-somethings because they speak a whole different language. They just have a different way of going about things, and so the topic came up last night. Who is your favorite athlete of all time? And Max, one of our social videographers, goes, Russell Westbrook. And Mark and I almost fell out of our chairs. I said Akeem Olajuwon, and I think they all were like, I think I know who that is, because some of them are from Houston, so they barely knew who Akeem Olajuwon was. So that kind of proved my age, but I don't think I'm cringy. You're not cringy. You're cringy if you think David's cringy. So, yeah, David's cool. David's always been cool.
Well, the fact that I asked that question makes me cringy. Let's move on to C.J. Stroud. What kind of camp is he having?
I feel for C.J. in a sense because they're installing a new offense, and it's put a lot of responsibility on his shoulders, which I think he's always wanted. But the offensive line in front of him has been it's been a Yahtzee roll the dice every day. Like, you don't know exactly what day it's going to be. Like, for 2-3 days in a row, we saw the same first offensive line, and then we got here to West Virginia, and it was completely jumbled from what we had seen. So he's kind of had to deal with that. He's only really got one receiver in Nico Collins that he had significant playing time with the last few years. Now he knows Xavier Hutchinson a little bit, and John Mechie a little bit. He's been around those guys, but he hasn't played much with those guys on the field. So you bring in the two Cyclones in Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel. You bring in Justin Watson from the Chiefs. You bring in Christian Kirk, who I think has been pretty good this camp. And it just takes time and kind of going through all of that. And, oh, by the way, you're facing arguably one of the top 3 defenses in the league. So there's been a lot kind of working against CJ, if you will. And yet he's competing. He's competing hard. Now, he's throwing some interceptions in camp, but I think he's doing that because he's trying to see and push the boundaries of what it is each day that he thinks he can do and what they want to do. But the one thing about CJ, he's unflappable. And I think the poise and the calm that he presents, I think, is something that's great for the offense to have, because there are going to be some moments this year where it might be a little bit of a struggle, especially the Rams right off the bat. You face that defensive line of Jared Verse and Braden Fisk, Byron Young, Colby Turner. I mean, they got some dudes, and it's going to be tough for that offensive line. But if CJ just gets a little bit of time here or there, he's got enough weapons that he can spread the ball around and be really effective. But training camp has kind of been up and down, because they've got all those different things kind of working against them. Now, the defense, David, that's a different story. This is one of the best defenses I've ever seen. These guys are animals. Like, they want to just drill you into the turf. They want to take the ball away. They have ball hawks in the secondary, and they are really, really impressive to watch. So, that's been a decent part of what has ailed the offense in CJ, is because this group, including Will Anderson Jr., who has just been dominant. I mean, absolutely dominant in this camp. And if he turns in the year kind of based on what he's done in training camp, he'll be one of the top 3 candidates for Defensive Player of the Year.
Talking to John Harris here on TexAgs Live. Johnny, I'm going to ask you a question that has really nothing to do with football. It hasn't, but just I want your perspective. ESPN buying the NFL Network, not that that's the topic I really want to get to, but Robert Kraft says it's going to make them more international. And I'm just curious why, because I feel like the NFL is becoming international because games are being, I don't know how the purchasing of the NFL Network will help them become more international, I guess is my point.
Yeah, I don't know if I understand that point from Robert Kraft. They already have established themselves really internationally. I mean, when you go to a game internationally, which we went over to London in 2019, you could already see it. We went into Wembley Stadium and you just look around. And David, there were NFL jerseys of all kinds. One of my favorite players, Luke Kuechly. So you'd see a Panthers 59. You'd see Texans jerseys and Jaguars because that's who we're playing, but you'd see Vikings and Rams. You saw a ton of Aaron Rodgers. The game already globally has grown. I don't know that the purchase of ESPN or the trade with ESPN is going to make it more of a global sport. I don't know that I see that. And I'm not really sure why this is happening, other than the fact that I think NFL, for a long time, probably 2.5 years, they were just cutting assets at NFL Network, which I never understood because the people that I know that work at NFL Network, and you and I know one that does a lot of work on NFL Network. And I think, Lance Zierlein does great work. I think Daniel Jeremiah is tremendous at what he does. I think he's the best there is. And I felt like NFL Network put together some good programming. So I never really understood why the NFL couldn't really get behind that product, if you will. Maybe ESPN allows them to kind of spread their wings a little bit, puts a little bit more investment into the NFL Network in particular. But there are some other NFL assets that ESPN is going to get out of this, and I think Red Zone being one of them. And that's when we have a bye week and I have a Sunday when I can watch games, I watch the Red Zone. I don't watch a game. I watch the Red Zone. I can always get the games later on through film and all that, either from our film department or from the NFL Plus app. So I watch Red Zone, and it's like crack. And so Scott Hansen and Red Zone going on ESPN, I think is going to end up being a tremendous thing. And I hope Scott's back for the duration. But that's how I watch. And so getting Red Zone and NFL Network, I think those are great. I'm curious how they kind of use and merge those properties eventually. I know there's going to be some regulatory process they have to go through, so it doesn't look like it'll be this year. It'll probably be next year. But I'm curious to see how this all comes together. But NFL getting 10% of ESPN, that to me, kind of interesting, so it's probably a decent business move for the NFL to have done that. But I'm curious how this will be perceived by people from a, what's the right way of saying this? The ESPN protecting the NFL, like you won't get as much analysis that is critical of particular players and teams because the NFL, owns a part of ESPN. There'll probably be some of that out there in the blogosphere and out there on the social media, but I think ESPN has kind of been that way for years, so I don't know that much will change. So I'm curious more than anything, David, to see how this goes.
Talking to John Harris here on TexAgs Live. Johnny, before we get to some college football topics, I wanted to ask you about Cowboys, their handling of Micah Parsons and, the handshake agreement in March that Jerry Jones thought, and Micah really being a good teammate, staying quiet until he couldn't stay quiet anymore. Just your thoughts on how this is all playing out.
I want to say this nicely. I really do. And I think it's kind of hard in a sense because I feel like the way that things have been done financially and with contracts here in Houston is the exact way that you're supposed to do it. So I look at the Cowboys on the complete opposite end of how you do it and think there's no way you should be doing that. Now, I'd have stronger words if I weren't, on the radio. But in a sense, I think it's asinine the way that they have treated their best players. They have alienated their best players. CeeDee Lamb sees what they've done is like, come on, man. He's out on social media criticizing the team, and for good reason. I mean, this should not be handled this way. And David, the Cowboys signed Micah Parsons last year. Micah Parsons is probably making anywhere between $30 to $34 million a year, which is a lot of money. But if they did it last year, like they should have. Now, after watching Daniel Hunter get a raise here, watching Max Crosby get a raise, watching TJ Watt get $41 million, watching Miles get $40 million, now the Cowboys are going to be on the hook for $42 at least per year. And if you think about the difference between what they could have paid last year and what they're going to pay this year, that could have been a Pro Bowl guard. It could have been a stud linebacker to replace Overshown. I mean, they could use that money to put it towards something else. Instead, they're going to have to give it to Micah because they didn't do business properly. So let me tell you what happens when you do business properly. You get Nico Collins, one of the top 7 receivers in this league, and you get him for $24 million a year because you sign him when you should have. And that is a bargain. So what do you do with the money that you saved? If we ended up waiting to sign Nico, it might be 35, 36 million. And maybe we can't keep Azeez Al-Shire. Maybe we can't go out and sign Cam Robinson to give him a shot at tackle for this team. But we can because of the way things were handled financially by the Texans. The Cowboys do it completely opposite. Now, that's their way. And I would tell you, it's just different. But it's really cost them in a big way. And Micah just exposed how they've been doing business for a long time. And I think it's a shame that those players have had to go through that when they have been that productive for Jerry for all those years. If you're productive for this organization, the Texans, for years at a time, and you do things right, you get rewarded. Jalen Petrie, Nico Collins, Daniil Hunter. Daniil Hunter was here for a year, and the team was like, you do everything the way we want to do it. We want to see it. We're giving you more money. Gave him a raise when they didn't need to. And basically, by giving him a raise, they put him in the ballpark with Max Crosby financially, but they didn't have to pay through the roof to go all the way to 41, 42 million like you'd have to pay TJ Watt. So it's just different in how the Texans do business and the Cowboys do business. But the Texans are lauded throughout the NFL, and the Cowboys are absolutely denigrated.
Talking to Johnny Harris here on TexAgs Live. Johnny, I'm gonna paraphrase what Jay Bateman said yesterday at the Texas A&M press conference, talking about the lack of a pass rush at the end of the season. And one of the things he said was, because we were having some issues in the secondary, we couldn't really be as aggressive as we wanted to be. OB brought up the point, when you're struggling, you should probably get after the quarterback more. Kind of explain both sides of that equation from a coach's perspective of when to be aggressive, when not to be, when you are unsure of your secondary.
Yeah, I mean, OB's got a good point. I mean, I've always been of a mindset that, you almost at times have to manufacture a pass rush. And I think you can manufacture a pass rush and tell your DBs, go be seriously aggressive. Don't let them beat you with 2 steps off the line of scrimmage, because then it's easy to beat a blitz. But sometimes you have to manufacture the pass rush. And I've talked to defensive coordinators, with the Texans. I talked to Anthony Weaver for a long time. I've talked to D'Amico. Not too much football X's and O's, but sometimes about how he calls a game and when a lot of it's on feel. But I hear a lot of that, like, man, we could bring 6, but we can't cover in the back end. And obviously in the NFL, when you face, Aaron Rodgers, back in his prime, when you face Patrick Mahomes, you face Josh Allen, you get man coverage and you give them a sliver, they kill you. And I don't think SEC quarterbacks are that good. So I do think that manufacturing a pass rush, bringing 5, I think there are different ways you could do it. But I know how defensive coordinators think. They want to have that safety, if you will, not position safety, but just the safety of the secondary. Like, hey, if we bring 5, can we cover this? Or is this going to be easy pitch and catch, and then we're just chasing the rest of the game, the rest of that play, series, et cetera? So I understand how defensive coordinators think. They're very fearful of, well, we could get there, but, I don't know that we could cover it. And that, I think, I can understand Jay Bateman's thoughts on that, but I also understand what OB is saying. Like, hey, shake it up. But those DCs know you give up a couple of deep balls and they're going to be on the radio with us next year talking instead of coaching and being a DC. So at that point, all right, we're going to sit back, let you dink and dunk down the field and see if you can be effective for 8 to 10 plays as opposed to a 1-play 75-yard drive. So I can see the risk averseness, if you will, of a defensive coordinator when you don't feel you can cover in the back end. My question would be, when you look at some of the talent that A&M had, what was it that kept them from covering in the back end? And is that going to be better this year? So that's it. They often say, as I've talked to defense coordinators, that rush and coverage have to work together. And if one of them is off, then you're hosed. And obviously, I think about the Texans. If we have one thing, it is rush and coverage working together. And it allows those guys in the back end to be a lot more aggressive at the ball because they know quarterbacks aren't going to have that amount of time. So maybe that would have helped the secondary. Hey, we're going to cut down the amount of time this quarterback has back there. Secondary, you can be a little bit more aggressive in going after the ball. And maybe there are some things that Jay needs to bring in to the scheme that kind of give him coverage on both ends. Like, hey, I think we can get there with the pass rush, but in the secondary, maybe we'll do a little bit more zone. So there's some things you can do playing, blitz zone, fire zones where you're dropping defensive linemen into coverage. You can play zone behind it, but bring pressure from different areas. There are ways you can manufacture that. And it feels like that might have been something they could do. They had some dudes to be able to do it, but maybe this year they've got a better group in the back end that'll allow him to be a little bit more aggressive up front with the pass rush.
Johnny, what team in the SEC or just college football in general has the most pressure to have a much better season, right? We're not just talking about like A&M. I don't think there's a much better season would be great, but like if they go 8-4 from 8-4 to 9-3, great, right? But who is one of those teams? Is it Florida potentially? Is it LSU? Is it Oklahoma? Who is a team that you think has the most pressure, like to take a major leap?
The first team that came to mind is Texas, because in all honesty, I think Texas, with all the money they've got invested in the program, with Arch Manning taking over, if Texas doesn't get to the national championship game, and I'm a Longhorn fan, I'm angry. I'm really upset. I think Auburn's got to show me something. Now, they get Jackson Arnold, and they bring in Eric Singleton from out of Georgia Tech, who I think is as dynamic as it gets. I mean, he is incredible. And you throw them with Cam Coleman and what they've got, and then Keldrick Falk on the defensive end. Auburn's got to show me something. Hugh Freeze took all that money from Auburn, and what have they done with it? It's obviously been a lot of talk about Hugh and his golf game this offseason, but Auburn to me has got to take a leap, I think, because you know how Auburn is. Brian Harsin got maybe a year and a half. See ya. Go and get Hugh Freeze. They were all excited about that. Now 2 years in, they're saying, hey, Hugh, what are we doing, man? We're Auburn. We're supposed to win some games. And they haven't done that. So I think Auburn is one of those teams I think they've got to take a major step. And, David, I think they have the individual talent to do it. They're good on the offensive line. They got a stud transfer from Virginia Tech at tackle. I think they can be very, very good. But does it really happen for Auburn? And I think that's a team that, to me, they got to take another significant step. You mentioned Florida. I think if DJ Lagway is all that, I think they will take that step. I think Florida's super talented as well. They're good on the offensive line. I think they got some defensive line dudes. I think Florida is a team that can take it, but Auburn's the one that kind of is like, they should take that step, but they haven't. And I'd like to see them take that step, because when Auburn's good, it's kind of fun to watch them. And they've got some talent. I think Falk is one of the better edge rushers in the league, and he's going to be really fun to watch. He's kind of Shamar Stewart, if you will, for Auburn, but I think he's probably a little bit better football player right now than Shamar was at this point.
Who do you think takes a big step back?
Ooh, good question. Who takes a step back? I don't know why LSU keeps flashing in my mind, but I think LSU is going to be a little bit better. I think you got some dudes defensively. I think they're going to be pretty good. Who could take a step back, and I think it's all dependent on Austin Simmons at quarterback, is Ole Miss.
Yep.
I think Ole Miss is a team to kind of keep an eye on. They lost a boatload of talent. They put a lot of money into that 2024 roster. A lot of those guys went to the NFL or moved on. I look at Ole Miss's talent now, and I'm like, it's not quite what it was. Now, if Austin Simmons is all that in a bag of chips, okay, Ole Miss is going to be okay. But I do think from last year to this year, I think Ole Miss would be the candidate to step back.
That is John Harris here on TexAgs Live. Johnny, appreciate your time, buddy. We'll talk next week.
Yeah, man. Love you, brother. Don't be cringy.
Later, bro. Love you. It's my brother, Johnny Harris. All right, we'll hit a break. When we come back, open segment, short one, because Ricky Seals-Jones is already in the lobby. So we'll chat with Ricky on the two other sides, right? So right now we're talking Heritage Films, and I got to talk to you about a guy that I worked with John Harris, Chance McClain. He hired both of us at 1560 The Game, and Chance now does these documentary films about families, Heritage Films. Somebody asked if I had done one on the message board. Yeah, we did one for my pops a couple years ago. I told you he turned 95 July 31st, still alive, doing great. And Chance did one when he was 93, 92. It was an awesome experience to kind of just learn all about his move to the United States from Cuba, meeting my mom, the story, from being an engineer in Cuba to being a dishwasher in Miami to being an engineer in Houston, right? The whole gamut. And it was an awesome story for my kids to see and hopefully for their kids to see at some point as well. And that's one thing that Chance does. He's do these documentaries about families, but he also does it about family businesses and family ranches, and Farm and Ranch Films is his newest product. And I'm telling you, you got a ranch, you want Chance to tell that story so the generations that are going to inherit that land know all about it, all the values, and they'll be able to transfer it to their kids and their kids after that. You can check out the website, yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. We're going to play a game for a moment. I want Reese and Nick involved in this game. So I asked Johnny Harris, a team that has most pressure to have a not a bounce back year, but a much better year, right? Significantly improved. The team that I'm thinking about, I'm not going to even tell you who it is yet because I want to play the game. But if I give you, and I'm not going to tell you the order of this schedule, because then you'll know who I'm talking about. But if I just give you this schedule and we said the team that was playing them was A&M, would we feel good about the first 6 games of the schedule, or would we feel bad about it? Okay. If I told you that A&M was going to face South Carolina in the first 6 games, which, by the way, they do. I don't know if it's the first 6 games, but they face them. Ole Miss, Florida, and Clemson. If we said that all those games were part of our first 6, would we be a little worried about that start of the season?
I would feel a little worried.
Nick?
Yeah, definitely, especially that game against Clemson, which you're talking about LSU?
I'm talking about LSU. Yeah. So LSU, everybody's talking about this team. By the way, what was LSU's record last year?
8-4.
Huh. What was A&M's record?
8-4.
Who beat them?
A&M. Beat LSU.
I think it's a defense mechanism by us Aggies and by the national media, by the way, and history would prove this to be true, so I get it. But, like, everyone's talking about LSU being this, like, college football playoff team. And I don't necessarily disagree, because I do think they've gotten better. I like their defensive coordinator, and they've gotten some pieces there. I have some questions about the offensive line, but who doesn't, right? But I'm like, is there a scenario where Brian Kelly loses 3 games in the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season? Would it surprise you for Clemson to beat LSU week 1?
No.
Nick?
Not at all, no.
Okay. Would it surprise you for Florida, DJ Lagway's healthy, goes to Baton Rouge and beats LSU? I'm not saying it's likely, but would it surprise you?
Not totally.
So in the first 3 weeks of the season, could they have 2 losses?
They could.
And almost be eliminated from the college. They're not eliminated, but almost, right? On the verge of it, right?
Another one would have them eliminated.
And then they go to Ole Miss on September the 27th. So within a month of the season, in that scenario, I'm not predicting this to happen. I'm just talking out loud. In that scenario, couldn't they have 3 losses to start off the year?
They could.
And then what happens when South Carolina comes to town? I think LSU is going to beat South Carolina. Yeah. I don't think South Carolina is as good. Florida, I don't know what I don't know about Florida. I know they were really good at the end of the year, but I have questions about there's a possibility that I think LSU is going to go to Clemson and win. I think that streak comes to an end this year. But all that being said, could you imagine the chatter about Brian Kelly if they lose not only Clemson, but they lose to Florida in the first month of the season?
Not be good chatter.
Right. So when we talk about A&M and, we're trying to figure out that started the season for LSU. Now, I know the second half of the schedule is a little bit more forgiving, but let's not forget they got Alabama. Flash up that schedule again, if you don't mind, Nick, on LSU. I think they're going to be in contention for the playoffs. I'm not sure they're going to make the playoffs, but the second half of the season, they got to go at Alabama and to Oklahoma. I'm just saying, like, is there a world now that we've kind of absorbed it? Because I think what happens is you just believe LSU is going to be good. But the reality is they've been kind of mid other than the national championship, which, by the way, I would take. Absolutely take, right? I'm not, and mid is probably not the right word, but they've been a step below this college football playoff juggernaut the last 6 years.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the schedule and like we've been going game by game, you could realistically see 7-5 or 6-6.
I don't think that's going to be the case, right? No. Like before LSU, Matt Mosconis calls me to fight. I don't believe that's going to be the case, but I'm just presenting some information of like when we absorb A&M schedule, and I think others do the same thing, the national analysts. Well, there's a world where Clemson starts off the first month of the season with 2 losses. All right. I know I was going to get to you there, Reese, but I didn't. Fine. Daily Company, they're a family-owned, licensed, insured business that offers HVAC, electrical, plumbing, and generator services that's available to you all the time, 24/7. HVAC-wise, they got the thermostat repairs, the refrigerant leaks, the furnace failures, and the seasonal tune-ups. On the plumbing side, they'll take care of your leaks, your repairs, your clogged drains, your water heater installation. And they'll keep those pipes in top shape. They can take care of your electrical wiring, outlet repairs, upgrades for safety and efficiency. And on the generator side, they can repair them, they can install them, and they'll make sure that they're ready to roll anytime there's a power outage. They serve all of Ryan College Station, Houston, and Austin with upfront pricing and no surprises. What you need to do is contact the Daily Company, 979-260-2020. That's 979-260-2020, or visit them online at godaily.com to experience the daily difference. I already know this interview with Ricky Seals-Jones is going to go great. He called me old a minute ago. I've been covering this gentleman for a long time, since high school days. When I was at Channel 13, we went everywhere with you and your dad, man. So how are things?
Things are good.
Yeah,
I can't complain. I reside in the Houston area, Cypress Tomball, and I retired last year, and I'm kind of just, getting into real estate and, enjoying life. I got 3 kids, and so I'm being a dad and can't wait for this upcoming season.
So it's interesting. I haven't seen you up close in a long time, but I still think of you as that young kid, right? That up-and-coming star.
Yeah.
And to see you as the man now, right? Your post-playing career, you're a father of 3, man. Like, I want to go to the beginning, though, all right?
Okay.
I think you were initially committed to Texas, or you were going to go to Texas?
I was a big UT fan.
Because of VY?
VY, Kevin Durant, and then they kept trying to get me to play DN. And at the time, I wanted to score touchdowns. So I ended up decommitting and opened my recruiting back up, and Sumlin came, and they had the air raid, and they were going into the SEC. So, it was just everything that you could ask for and stay in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
I narrowed it down to, A&M and LSU, but, ultimately, I came to the Florida game, and it was rocking. And
that was it?
That was it. I was sold.
Yeah.
I would have moved in that day. So,
the Florida game where Johnny made his debut, that one?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They ended up losing, but when I tell you, the fan base, the atmosphere, even, going in after the game and meeting the players, it was heaven. And, they made me feel at home, my family feel at home. So, I enjoyed it.
So, okay, you make your decision to go to A&M. Talk about, that transition, that growth from being this guy that, all eyes are on you and having to kind of buy your time.
It was tough. Coming in, spread offense, and moving from playing essentially just quarterback to receiver, it was difficult. One, getting in shape, it was a different beast from workouts. But over time, I just put my head down and kept grinding, and I had great teammates like Mike, Sabo, Darrell. And then even the young guys that came in with me, like Quiv, Germ, Curion Parker. I mean, we're a tight-knit bunch. So, we just kind of grinded it out. And then over time, I started to get better with the playbook and started making plays. And then, once the season came, I kind of had my opportunity to shine. And then I didn't. So,
well, you mentioned Mike there. Did you know, folks knew he was going to be good, right? But this is Hall of Fame legendary Mike, right? He's still at a high level.
I mean, we saw a glimpse of it, but if you would have said back then that 11 years he's been in the league, that he's gonna have 1,000 yards, I'm like, yeah, that's impossible. And he's done it. So, man, Mike's always been a hard worker. He's a great guy, big family man. So he was destined for it.
Yeah.
The work that he puts in, even from sports to the community, all his blessings that he's getting is he's receiving them in a good way.
Did that group, as you were waiting your turn, teach you how to be kind of like a collegiate athlete?
Yeah, 100%. I think the older guys showed us the way. They made a blueprint, and we followed it, and that was just our motto, of we want to be as good as the older bunch, because it speaks for themselves. You can go turn on any tape from 12 to 13, and the receiver group is highlights and highlights and highlights.
Right.
From small games to big games, the games that are close, obviously it takes all 11 to make it go, but, man, the receivers they were special. And they put in the work. They came in and day out and put in the work and showed us what it was like to wake up every day and be a college athlete.
What about Summy? What did he mean to you, especially early on?
Man, he was a great coach. Recruited me and got me to my ultimate goal of making it to the NFL. So, we obviously our goal is to getting the playoffs and winning a national championship. And, you know, we fell short a couple of years. But overall, like, he was a great coach. Yeah.
Favorite memory on the field?
Oh.
College-wise.
I would say I have two. The 2 games that I got kicked out for blindsiding. And I look at that because I was helping my teammates. And that was who I strided myself to be, is like, man, if I can help Josh spring an extra 20 yards, like,
I'm going to do it.
I'm going to do it, you know, or if I'm going to knock somebody out for Kyler to score, like, that's part of the game, like, being selfless. So for me, it was not catching the ball. It was the blocking. So
Isn't that weird, though? Like, I mean, it's not what you would expect from a guy who's always had the ball in his hands, right?
Yeah, and so I think over time, like, I just adopted a different mindset of, like, when I get the ball, I'm going to get the ball and make my plays, but, like, how else can I, you know, be a factor? And for me, it was like I wanted to try to be the best blocker that I could be in space to help my other guys go off. Because, like, if I'm going off or just one person going off, it's easy to game plan for. But, like, if you got 4 guys going off, it's a hard game plan.
Right.
So that was just my thinking when I was there.
Did someone help you, like, think that, like, because, I mean, that sounds like a real tight end kind of way of thinking.
I think for me, I was the biggest in the room.
Yeah.
Always. So, like, I knew I wasn't going to be the fastest. So for me, I was like, how can I help stay on the field? And it was me for my blocking. Like, I knew I had great hands, but we were a spread offense and we wanted to get up and down the field. And I was like, all right, well, when plays do come my way, I'm going to make them. But, like, to also help the team is, you know, we did a lot of bubble screens and a lot of, you know, back in the flat. So that's kind of what I used to help me stay on there and be great.
How about some of those battles versus Nick Saban in Alabama?
Yeah, they're rough, especially.
You had some good games against them, though.
I did.
107 yards in one of them?
Yeah, back here at the house. So, I mean, honestly, all the games are battles, but I think Alabama was biggest because of when with year 12, they came and knocked them off. And so after that, it was like a rivalry.
Yeah.
You know, and we had great battles. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the atmosphere. I enjoyed the fan base. I even enjoyed going up there and playing. Like, it's a different feeling when you're on the road and all you guys are your teammates. So I enjoyed it a lot.
I saw a clip just the last couple of days that one of the players on the 2013 Alabama team, can't remember who it was, saying how much Nick Saban prepared for that game here at Kyle, like more than he's ever seen. And it did start a little bit of a rivalry.
It did.
We didn't win as much as we wanted, but
but we were on their radar.
Yeah,
they knew that they had to prepare for us because we were coming to shock the world. Like, we took every game as if nobody respected us. One is because we came from Big 12 and everybody thought we were like little brother.
Right.
And we were trying to make our own noise and make A&M what A&M is today, of like, hey, like, we can be a powerhouse too. So you had to game plan for us, and I mean, Saban did a hell of a job. So.
Yeah, he did. Can you explain to our audience why it's so hard to win at night in the SEC? Like, we get it, but as a player, you've lived it. You know it. Like, it's different. It's not like anything else. Explain, like, from a player's perspective.
I'll just go off LSU. Like, LSU at night is probably the hardest place to play in. You have Cajuns drinking all day. You have the atmosphere, the music, like, even just their, like, little chants they have. Like, it's just it gives them a different spark.
Yeah.
Like, no matter how much energy you can bring with you on the road, like, that's probably one of the toughest places. And it's just hard. Like, you basically or have to win early and get on their throats early and crush them out. Because if you make it a game, it makes it more tougher. So I would say definitely LSU at night. Arkansas was always a big game, neutral site. And then, like, even playing at home, like, night games. Like, it's just something about when your fans can just build up that animosity all day. It's a different type of electric feel. Like, when we played Mississippi State at 9 a.m., like, it's 11 a.m., it's like,
right.
You're steady trying to wake up, but that sitting in the hotel all day, watching the other games, like, you just like, all right, I'm ready to play.
Let's go.
Let's get this going. So I definitely think night games are way harder, especially on the road, just of sitting all day, that build up. So, yeah.
Stick around for one more segment. All right, we'll do one more. I want to find out about life in the NFL and his thoughts on Coach Elko and this year's team. That and more on TexAgs Live. More Ricky Seals-Jones here on TexAgs Live. Ricky, what about your time in the NFL, man? It felt like you played a long time, but it felt like it went by like that.
Yeah, it felt like that.
Yeah.
Played 7, but I mean, you look up and it's gone. But I enjoyed it. Like, went undrafted, started off in Arizona, had a great coach with Bruce Arians, and I had a great vet, Jermaine Gresham and Troy Nicholas. Tight end guys, put me under the wing. Like, when I got to Arizona, like, I didn't know how to get in the left and right stance. Like, it was bad.
Right.
And man, those guys put me under the wing and just showed me how to be a pro and how to be a tight end. And if it wasn't for them, like, I don't think my career would have lasted as long because, like, they didn't have to do that. Like, they could have just, like, here's a young guy coming in trying to take my job. But, like, man, they showed me how to be a pro, and that's how I try to be to the next young guys. And once I left AZ, I ended up going to Cleveland, had a stint there. KC, went to the Super Bowl, lost to Tom that year. Tom went to Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
And then Washington after KC, and then did a stint in Indy and New York Giants. So, like I said, it's a blur. Like, I can remember the great times, but it's like where'd it go?
Right.
Like, I was like, man, like, I can't believe, like, I started in 17 and, like, now it's done. But, like, when I tell you, like, a blink of an eye, like, the season goes by so quick. But for the most part, I enjoyed it. I had my fun. I met great people, great coaches, great players. I learned a lot. And so I enjoyed it. And it was an experience that I wish a lot of guys get to experience just off of going and playing in London, you know. The stadiums aren't like here.
Right.
So, like, you know, a lot of guys get that bright light shy when they go, like, their first NFL game. And I'm like, bro, like, 78,000 people, like, that's our spring game.
Right.
So, like, you know, that's one of the biggest reasons of, like, you know, coming to a nice school like Texas A&M. Like, you get to experience those big moments. So when it's time to go to the league, it's really nothing. Like, you're just still playing football.
You're still playing football. This football team last year didn't reach what we wanted, but I feel like there's some building blocks.
Yeah.
Are you able to watch Coach Elko and them? Do you have time to watch them?
Here and there, you know, I think I like what Coach Elko's doing. You know, the guys that he's got out of the transfer portal, the tight ends that's coming here and that are here. So I'm excited, man. I'm leaving my options open. I don't want to predict anything, but I feel like we have a shot to be a dark horse, you know, and everybody's kind of sleeping on us and, you know, off of last year, and that's totally fair.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's a wave coming, and I think Elko has the pieces that he needed, and it's going to be a rude awakening.
We've got about 2 minutes left. Just, do you ever give thought to why A&M has not been a consistent threat the way our fans are a consistent threat in the SEC? Like, have you ever thought about the why behind it?
A little bit. I just feel like it's the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, you can wake up and have a no knock to Vanderbilt, but Vanderbilt, you can play Vanderbilt and they can
beat you.
They can, on a Saturday, so evening or daytime. So, like, it's the SEC. Like, you don't know. Everybody's good, and everybody's going to give you your best shot. So I would tell our fans that, hey, you know, it's coming. Just stay patient, and when it does come, be there to support.
You didn't play Texas, but do you have a hate for Texas the way most Aggies do? Or is it more LSU for you because you played against them, in Alabama because you played against them?
I think since the rivalry was back, yes.
Uh-huh.
Back when I was playing, like, we didn't really care because it wasn't a thing. But now that I went last year to the game, like, there's a deep hatred there.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know it was in there. But for me, it's LSU.
Yeah.
I lost all my games with LSU. So for me, that's one place that I wish that I could have under my belt of a win. And so for me, it's LSU because it was just a rival game that night, Thanksgiving game. Like, it's what you wanted.
Yeah. Any chance another year of football, XFL, NFL, or you're done?
I'm done. My body's beat up.
Yeah.
Nah. I enjoy watching it. I got my 7-year-old son, so that's as far as I'm gonna get with putting my cleats on.
Yeah.
But I enjoy it. I just enjoy watching. I enjoy coming back here and supporting my Ags and watching some of the guys that I still know that play. But I enjoyed it. I had my time. I'm beat up, and now I'm just enjoying life.
Yeah. Well, let's get you in studio again or on the phone here during the season, okay?
Perfect. Sounds good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Ricky Seals-Jones. When we come back on TexAgs Live, Ryan Brauninger in Recruiting Country. Got a lot to talk about with him. And afterwards, the General, John McClain, formerly of the Houston Chronicle, covered the NFL for a long time. He's going to join us to talk a little bit about a Junction Boys event that he's going to be emceeing. That and more is TexAgs Live. As a reminder, the final segment of the program is coming up at 10:50. But right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150 will hook you up with a choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggie Land since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Professional television and radio host.
Yes, sir.
Whenever you're hosting, and Nick, can you go back to that shot David was just on? Okay, so if you're watching on YouTube, I know this doesn't make great radio. What are you looking at right now? Are you looking at a camera or the TV?
I'm looking beyond the red light.
Oh, which red light? Over here?
That's the one I'm on.
Okay.
So that's I'm.
But you're not looking at the TV. I always look at, because the TV's right there, and I like the TV being there. But when I'm on that one shot, if I'm hosting, I always look at the TV. So I need to be looking at
the red light.
The red light.
I try to have an intimate dialogue with the red light. I want it to be a personal
See,
conversation.
I can't tell if you're being facetious.
I'm being serious. I'm flirting with the camera.
Flirting?
Yeah.
That's gross.
You want to develop a relationship with the camera.
Now, every time that Nick puts it on that shot, he's going to think you're flirting with him.
No.
And it's going to make Nick uncomfortable.
It's the camera. It's the audience.
I'm waiting to see the next phase of Nick Savage's hair. We are in the early stages of what we predict to be a better mullet than what Richard Zane has. But until we see that next cut, it's hard to really determine what the final product is going to look like. But I'm encouraged.
He's got the Morgan Wallen look right now.
Oh, that's his favorite artist, too.
Yeah,
he was just telling me that's who he wanted to look like.
Fan.
It's Morgan Wallen.
By the way, this is Recruiting Country, brought to you by America Momentum Bank. Anyway, if you got a question for Bronny, 979-693-1150, we can get into it. Busy, I guess, the last time we spoke, I'm trying to think, it was the day before Tank, right?
Yes, and we've talked about, have I been on here and talked about Tank? And it was kind of the subject matter of my article yesterday. Took me a long way to get there. I try not to be mundane, and I want new ideas every time I write a recruiting long-form article. And yesterday's took me a little bit while to come up with how am I going to get to this topic that has really kind of been bubbling up, I would say more so recently, later this summer than it had before. But the basic premise of it, if you haven't read it, was how do you determine the truth in recruiting now? And, the unknown has been ubiquitous in recruiting since its inception. Like, there's always an element of the unknown that you're dealing with.
Sure.
But now I think that unknown has become incentivized. If I'm the recruit or if I'm the agent, why do I need to tell everybody the truth? Right? Because I can embellish some things and maybe get more from my client, or I get more out of this NIL deal. Yeah. And again, it's just the way the game is played. I don't want to sound like I'm being critical, but I felt like I had really good sourcing on Tank Jones. I felt like I had some avenues and some angles that I was able to get into that not everybody else had. And through those, and these are sources and connections that have been really good to us in the past, through those, I was like, man, this is real. Like, A&M is in the lead. He's not going to Alabama.
They spoke to him the night before, right?
And, A&M was still in communication right up to, and really the worm didn't start to turn for me until it became overwhelmingly obvious that Oregon had done something to come from the back of the pack to not only even, but out in front going into the decision day. Now, you can think that I think I thought I was able to separate wheat and chaff and the NIL offers that were on the table. But again, like, how do you really know? Mm-hmm. Where is the value in telling a media member what X school is offering you? It doesn't do you any good. And I think you lose a little bit of the leverage and the power of negotiation, right? And so that was the point of my article. And I compared it to growing up, we would play board games around the dinner table after dinner for some holidays or some church meetings or whatever. We'd play board games, and one of my favorite was Balderdash. And the premise of Balderdash is that there's an obscure name, date, person, whatever, that is on the card, and everybody's job on the table, like my job is to write a definition for that word or date to try to convince you and Reese that my definition is the real one. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what everybody is after now in this recruiting game. I don't know what you wrote on your piece of paper. I don't know what Reese wrote on his piece of paper. I'm trying to guess what the real number is, and I'm going to write mine and hope that I have enough believability that mine's the real number. Right. So, it's a really interesting time to cover recruiting for sure. And in no way, shape, or form am I like trying to play a victim of this. Like there's some inherent nature of recruiting and covering recruiting where you're going to be wrong every now and then. I think now, because it's shrouded in so much more unknown and nobody wants to really be forthcoming with what's factually out there. And again, I'm not upset with that. That's just the nature of what it is. But I think that the people that are really fighting the battles are the head coaches, the recruiting coordinators, the recruiting staff members. Like, to be able to find out what's real and what's not now, that is difficult, but it can be insanely valuable if you can get it.
So can it be real and then something changes? Like, we like to say the bag changes, right? But like Oregon changes their offer potentially, or was Oregon always in the lead?
Or they repackage some things, or now you have the NCAA clearinghouse. So what does Oregon have in their back pocket that they can play that does align with what real NIL is? They have the Nike brand, right? Mm-hmm. Now, they can promise that Nike is going to do certain things for the kid and for his brand. But as of now, I haven't seen a college athlete, and I could be wrong, but I haven't seen a college athlete sign with Nike and do any of these national commercials. But they can promise that, and that is legit NIL, right? And they have access to Nike more so than any other program in the country. So Oregon should use that. If Texas A&M had that type of deal, if for whatever reason Buc-ee's decided they wanted to do they wanted to jump into the sports field, and they wanted to use A&M athletes, shouldn't A&M take advantage of that?
Heck yeah.
Absolutely they should. The recruiting staff at Oregon, don't forget, they were here at Texas A&M and were a part of recruiting that 2022 class. So they're good at what they do. And they ultimately, I don't know, there's no way to really know what they did to put themselves over the top. All I know is that every piece of intel that we were getting from multiple sources indicated that Oregon was in third until about 48 hours before the commitment.
Yep.
So whatever happened then caused them to jump all Alabama and Texas A&M.
Yeah, I got a call that evening. I reached out to you from an Alabama person. Hey, we're not in the mix anymore. What are you hearing about you guys? And that's when I reached out to you. So does it feel like it's final with Tank? Does it feel like...
No, I mean, we don't have a large enough sample size post-house settlement yet to be definitive in saying that more kids are going to stick because of the house settlement, because everybody's got limited money or a salary cap now. There's one way to look at it that said everybody's got a salary cap, but there's another way to look at it that says more teams have money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because of this rev share model. So we don't really know. What we have seen so far is a lot of kids come out and say, hey, I'm shutting my recruitment down. We've seen that a lot more in this cycle, not just with Texas A&M, which we have seen, but across the country, you're starting to see it more and more. So are the days of flipping guys late over? Time will tell. I do know that A&M probably is not probably. A&M's not going to go anywhere. They're not just going to give up on the kid because Oregon got the verbal commitment. I still think they're going to press on guys like Lamar Brown. They're going to press on guys like Boobie Feaster. They're going to press on guys like Jamion Winfield and see what happens. We are entering it feels like every 2 or 3 years since COVID, every 2 years, it's been like a different setting of the scene, right? Some maneuvering has happened. Some legislation has come through. NIL looks different. The portal looks different. Things have shifted every 2 years. So when is it going to settle so we have a really more clear picture of what's coming down the line? Right now, after the house settlement, there's still a lot of unknowns and how that's going to affect recruiting in the long term. But recruiting and its importance hasn't gone anywhere. But I think the minutia of how you determine what's real and what isn't has changed really since COVID.
Yeah. Derek Miller was named recently the CBS Sports top general managers. That was when I got the TexAgs, there weren't general managers in college football. Now there is.
And I'm telling you, man, I sat here and I can remember hosting some radio shows in the old studio whenever this NIL stuff started to snowball. It had been 2021, 2022, and I'm sitting there and I'm hosting during the summers and trying to just fill airtime, and I'm sitting and I'm talking about, is it crazy that we could have private equity in college sports, that we could have potential owners in college sports? And it sounded like a far-fetched idea then, and we still haven't seen it definitively now, but what is Cody Campbell doing at Texas Tech?
Right.
Now, he may be limited by this house settlement stuff, but he has a vested interest in how Texas Tech does across all sports. And there's guys like that at Texas A&M, but so really how far away are we from private equity and owners of athletic
The door's
departments?
open, right?
Sure, everything's on the table now. And we'll see. I think that the house settlement and the rev share was an attempt to close that door a little bit. We'll see if it sticks. But to your point, Derek's job has gotten infinitely tougher since he got into the recruiting industry and then now has risen to the role of GM. And, guys like general managers and head coaches, their roles are like Mike Elko's role is not just to be the football coach.
Right.
Not anymore, it isn't. The football coach watches tape, comes up with schemes, practice plans, blows his whistle, disciplines his team on the field. It's so much more than that now. Like it's that plus CEO, CFO, COO, CPA. Those are the hats that head coaches and general managers are wearing now. And it sounds like a really cool gig, and especially because some of the monetary value that comes with doing those jobs.
Right.
But I bet when you're sitting in that chair and you're having to wear all those hats, it's like, man, this is tougher than a lot of people really recognize that it is, especially today. So there are so much more nuanced recruiting plan. I was just talking to Ricky Seals-Jones, who came in here and was awesome.
Yeah.
I was talking to him in the lobby, and he's eligible for some of that kickback from the ruling that the NIL can goes back
to 10. 2016.
Yeah, so he gets 1 year of it if he wants it. So he's part of that, and we were just sitting there talking about when he was going through recruiting, it really wasn't that long ago. It was like 2012, so like 12, 13 years ago, and how much it has just completely turned on its head, and it's almost like I'd rather it go back to the old way where things were kind of done under the table, but now it was like, okay, we're going to bring all this and make it legal. And all you've done is make it more shady in some ways. It's been a really somebody who's going more eloquent and more articulate and smarter than me is going to write a book about all of this and the changes of it, and it's going to be really interesting to read.
Well, just think about it. I got here in 21. This has all really started happening since I got to TexAgs. It's changed since I've been here.
What's funny is too, it has no doubt affected like the common fans' day in and day out interest in recruiting, I think has waned. But I don't think the importance of recruiting for the fans has gone anywhere when it comes down to who's on the dotted line when the class is done.
Sure.
They're still very, very interested in that. And I mean, you can go and read the message boards about, when A&M lost out on Lamar Brown, they lost out on Tank Jones. Like, people were pretty pissed.
Yeah.
It typically goes that way more so than they're happy. I think that's just like message board demeanor, and now it's become more and more anonymous message board social media etiquette.
Yeah.
Is like it's way cooler to be more outraged than it is to be happy whenever things are going well. It probably lends more to Brandon Jones and Josh Olsey talking about it preseason kickoff, how we're kind of become like a psychiatric, like a psychiatrist. TexAgs is like a psychiatry board. But that's the way that it's trending. But whenever signing day comes, I think especially like with this class, people are going to be really, really interested to see how all this finishes up. I mean, they've done a fantastic job. Like they really have. But there's still some meat on the bone. Like this Jace Matthews commitment's coming into a conclusion, at least a verbally conclusion this week. You have Braylon Womack at the end of the month. You have just posted a note on an SEC rival making a push for Caden Johnson. So there's still some things to navigate. There will be. And there's still some meat left on the bone in terms of rounding out what is right now a really good class.
All right, well, let's talk 27 for a moment. Jace Johnson, that came down over the weekend, Friday-ish, right? Big deal, again, going into Georgia and having success.
Yeah, and it was Jace Johnson has been a kid that whenever we started to kind of get a lay of the land for the 2027 class and A&M's intentions in that, like he has been at the forefront from the get-go for Colin Klein and quarterback assistant Josh Buford. They really pegged him early on. They did their homework on the in-state crop of quarterbacks. Kavian Bryant, Ty Knutson at Smithson Valley got an offer. They brought in Babin from Woodville. And, they've evaluated the entire state. And Jace Johnson, when I watched this kid, and I told somebody the other day, like, he reminds me of Reggie McNeil. Like, that's the kind of tools this kid has. He's young for his grade. He led his 6A school in Georgia. That's big-time football. on a deep playoff run as a young sophomore. So he's a sophomore regular, but he's young for his grade, but can really run. The physical features jump off, broad shoulders, giant hands, and he's a baby. So like when it's a lot of the same stuff Reggie
16?
had.
17 probably?
Probably just turning 16.
Yeah.
If he's 16 yet, so going into his junior year. So massive, massive upside. And this is not I'm not trying to say anything about Helaman Kasuga or Brady Hart or Eli Morkos. What I'm saying is that Jace Johnson, in terms of raw talent, now he's got some refining to do, just like any young quarterback. But in terms of raw physical skill set, he's
the truth.
Oh, it's way up there, way, way up there. So we'll see how he matures and all that kind of stuff. But this is a really good piece of clay and putty for them to mold.
All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back with more. Remember, if you have a question for Bronny, 979-693-1150. If you're looking for a reason to move back to Aggieland, or you are already living in Aggieland and you need a place to work, potentially reach out to the Association of Former Students. They have openings from time to time in many different departments: fundraising, marketing, sales, communications, and they are the premier alumni association, the oldest organization supporting Texas A&M, a part of that Aggie network. They play a part in every Aggie story from Howdy to here. Don't miss opportunities to help out the association with their big-time events like the Howdy Socials, Aggie Rain Day, class reunions, and Aggie Muster, and everything in between. Join a team that exemplifies those Aggie core values of excellence, integrity, leadership, loyalty, respect, and selfless service, all in support of that worldwide Aggie network. If you're interested in joining the team or sharing with someone that would be a great fit, please visit tx.ag/association jobs to apply and get more information on each position. It is the Association of Former Students. And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Recruiting Country, brought to you by American Momentum Bank. You said a few names earlier in the show. I was going to circle back to them.
Do we not have any text?
No, nobody wants to ask.
This used to be a proper show.
People used to ask.
This used to be a proper segment.
Well, you know what? You've answered all the questions as a premium subscriber, so they don't feel like they need to ask like they
Well, there's
used
no way that everybody that listens is a premium subscriber.
We've got a 98% success rate.
I want to talk about what's happened in front of me on this desk. Again, great radio. I get it. And even the people watching on YouTube can't see this. But what Olin has done to this desk.
Why are you going to throw Olin under the bus?
Okay,
like that?
well, what somebody has done to this desk.
Okay.
But the amount of, it looks like.
This was not even a year old.
It looks like he's like either some sort of mite or what are those things called?
It's like picking out a scab, guys. So the table has like this gloss finish on top of it. It's brand new table.
Like a beaver. He's like eating out of this. Yes.
That effect. Sorry.
What are those bugs called that eat wood? Why can't I think of
termites?
Termites. Yes.
Yeah.
So like. Olin the termite Buchanan has been at
I'm not going to put it all on Olin. I think everybody's played a role that sits at that chair.
Okay.
I think you have played a role. I think Billy
that's not
has.
true. That's not true. Now, Billy doesn't know what he's doing.
Okay, that's possible.
Especially if you're rambling and he's not listening to you or he's looking at his phone.
Typically, he's the one rambling.
But as soon as you start talking, he quits listening.
Oh, that's for sure.
Yes.
Sorry, what did you say?
Mm-hmm. So, anyway, we'll get it fixed. Olin, Olin he's had some very, very Olin one-liners recently.
Mm-hmm.
This morning he was complaining about getting old sucks, and I was like, well, it's better than the alternative, right? He's like, some days, I don't think so.
Oh my God. Wait, high school practices started within the last week, right?
Some of them have. If you didn't go through spring football,
you can
start now. But if you had spring football, you start a week later. But I'm getting my schedule ready. Mr. Howell, I don't want to give too much away, but Mr. Howell will be going on a trip through the Southeast to see a bunch of A&M. Obviously, the state of Georgia have been very popular, but now you got Tamarian Watkins in South Carolina, and we'll see if he's able to make it down to Clearwater, Florida for Samuel Roseboro. But Howell will be hitting as many of those in the Deep South. I would guess I would consider that as he can here upcoming. I am planning a trip out west to see Helaman Kasuga. I've never been to the state of Utah, so I'd like to get up there just obviously to watch future A&M quarterback, but never been to the state of Utah. Heard it's gorgeous.
Yep.
So it'd be cool to check that one off the list. And then potentially at a trip to California later in the year. And then obviously, the state of Texas being home base, we got to make sure that we're getting out and seeing as many of those kids in 26 and 27 as possible. I think A&M's, their 2027 pursuits in the state are going to be far greater than they were in 26. Like the class is more well-rounded in the state than it was in 26, or at least it looks that way right now. So, just planning all that, and then kind of keeping an eye on what A&M does here in August if they make any additions to the class.
Well, Jace Matthews, is he this week or next week?
Friday. It's Friday. That one's, again, what's real and what's not.
Right.
Depending on who you want to listen to, A&M is like at the final table. Other folks will tell you that it's clearly Auburn and LSU at the final table. The most consistent team has been Auburn recently, but A&M was the most consistent team when you talk to folks about Tank Jones leading into it. So who really knows? If you made me pick today, I'd lean Auburn for sure. And Auburn's only got 11 commitments, I believe, in their class. So you would think that Hugh Freeze has got some dry powder. I think that's probably a good way to phrase it. So they're going to have a little bit of juice there. And I would, again, lean Auburn for Jace Matthews. The interesting one is Braylon Womack, who is a safety from Mississippi. It's announcing at the end of the month. And if you would have asked me 2 to 3 weeks ago, I would have been like, it's Ohio State, like not even close. He's going to go to Ohio State. Well, in the last probably 7 to 10 days, it's like, maybe that's not as much of a sure thing as we thought. A&M has definitely re-entered the picture there. I think Florida has re-entered the picture there. Ohio State remains kind of floating around too. Like legitimately, he could stick with that momentum and go to the Buckeyes. Ohio State's got a safety committed out of Louisiana named Blaine Bradford out of Baton Rouge, and so what kind of fight are they going to get for that kid with LSU? How does that affect them at all with Braylon Womack? Who knows how that kind of unfolds going forward? But again, like this was a kid that I had written off to the Buckeyes a month ago, and now it sounds like A&M is not. I'm not making a prediction in favor of A&M. I'm not even saying that A&M is in the lead or tied to the lead, but they are. It's a real possibility that they win this thing. So it's tough to get a read on it right now. As we get an inch a little bit closer to the end of the month, I think that muddy picture clears up a little bit.
You mentioned Auburn. They're also trying to make a run for KK Johnson.
Yeah, I don't want to give too much of that away. Just posted an update on the message board, so I want to make sure that marinates, and the folks that pay us for information can see that first and get there, and they can digest it. But yeah, the interesting thing there is his dad, Spencer Johnson, played for Auburn in the early 2000s, then played for the Vikings and the Bills, I believe, and so obviously his dad's got ties to that program.
Thank you, Bronny. Appreciate you.
When we come back on TexAgs Live, John McClain, the general, going to join us. Big-time Junction Boys event in Houston. We'll discuss that and several other topics. Right now, though, Milliken Reserve, they're a farm-to-table community in College Station. They got homes, they got trails, they got farms, they got a wide open space, and their mission is to build a healthy community around nature. They're committed to treading lightly on that beautiful land that you can find Milliken Reserve on. 2,600 acres of open space, farms, and 30 miles of trails and homes. They want to connect families to nature and to each other. When you go there, you can go hiking, you can go biking, you can go canoeing, kayaking, the equestrian trails, the evening yoga, the summer camps, the music festivals, and the farmer market tours. They are fantastic and great neighborhoods there. The Creek, homes on 10-plus acre wooded estates. You got the Hollow in a private and gated community, and the Meadows responsive to their natural surroundings. For more information, check out MillikenReserve.com. That is MillikenReserve.com. All right, back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Super excited about our next guest, a mentor of mine, been a dear friend forever, helped me get started in this awesome career, and he's a legend. John McClain joining us here on the Bubby's Catering and Bartending Hotline. General, how are you, sir?
David, I couldn't be better. Thank you for letting me come on. I feel like I should be an honorary Aggie because as emceeing this tribute to Bear Bryant that we're doing in Houston on August 26th, I'll be back up there on October 4th for the Gary Kubiak being inducted as one of the alumnus of the year. I was honored to be one of the two people interviewed by A&M about Gary Kubiak, and I look forward to that event. And I never tire of coming on the A&M campus because every time I drive by on the way to Waco, I see new buildings going up. It's amazing how big that campus has become since I used to go to G. Riley White for Baylor and A&M basketball games.
John, I do want to talk about a seat at Bears table August 26th at the Houstonian in conjunction with the American Heart Association. Talk to us a little bit about the event. I know that Gene Stallings is going to be involved. Jackie Sherrill is going to be involved. I'm trying to think. You told me another name. Tell me some of the folks that'll be there.
Dennis Gearing, one of the Junction boys, will be there. And Wade Phillips, who knows a lot about Bear Bryant because his dad, Bum, coached for him in College Station. And so the way this came about, David, an Aggie friend of mine, Rob Lynch, who runs the Gridiron Legends of Texas and is a producer on a documentary we've been working on for a year about high school football in Texas before integration. We met with American Heart Association people, Dandy Armand and Alexis Newman, and they said 40th anniversary of the Bear Bryant Awards here for the Coach of the Year after the season. They wanted to do something special. So they came up with this event at the Houstonian, and I'm fired up about it because on the stage will be the four we talked about. Getting Gene Stallings to come down from Paris, he's 90 years old now, to talk about his experiences with Bear Bryant and coaching the Aggies, of course, and winning national championships as a player and a coach in the Super Bowl, coaching for Tom Landry with the Cowboys. And I've gotten to spend a lot of time with Jackie Sherrill in recent years because we're involved in the Gridiron Legends of Texas, and we do a lot of charity events. And I told Jackie, when you coach the Aggies, I hated you. That 86 game at Kyle Field between Kevin Murray, and Baylor quarterback Cody Carlson, still one of the best college games I've ever seen, even though A&M won. And now I've got great respect for Jackie. I've never known, David, a better storyteller than Jackie Sherrill, who started NIL when he was at Pitt, and then he brought it to A&M and took it to Mississippi State.
John, I'm sure there's some stories you've been told. Any preview of where a question could be going this upcoming month?
First of all, Gene Stallings was a Junction boy. So was Jack Pardee. I covered Jack when he was the head coach of the Oilers, and I never tired of hearing his stories about Bear Bryant and Junction, the 10 days they spent out in Junction. Today, Bear Bryant be put in prison for doing that, not letting his players have water, which is still amazing nobody died. And then I want to hear from Dennis Gearing. He was a 165-pound guard who went on to be all Southwest Conference and an All-American. And then Wade Phillips told a couple of fun stories about Bear Bryant. His daddy had told him when we were together last week. And I said, make sure you tell those stories at the Bear Bryant event. And so I'm fired up to talk of all of them about Coach Bryant and about Junction. And I know all the Aggies know about Junction, but it's amazing to me. You say Junction, and I don't know anybody in Texas that doesn't know what we're talking about. And of course, we'll talk to them about what they think about the current state of college football with the portal and NIL. And I'm sure they'll have a lot of good things to say about that. But I'm really fired up to be the MC and ask them questions. It'll be about an hour luncheon, starts at 11:30. And I tell people, if you don't have to be an Aggie to get to come, but we expect a whole lot of Aggies there to be there with some of their legends and hear their stories.
The website for more information, by the way, bryantawards.org, to get more information on this awesome event, August 26th, 11:30 to 2 o'clock. John, you mentioned something you'll talk to these folks about. I just want to get your thoughts on the direction of college athletics. You've covered the pros for so long, and college is starting to feel like the pros.
David, I love college football. I watch it. You guys were talking about Freeze and Auburn earlier. If he loses that first game at Baylor on Friday night, nationally televised game on Fox, that's going to put Auburn in a hole. I know Paul Feinbaum said that's the most important game of the year for Auburn, and I don't think so. They got to play in the SEC, of course, but it's a big game for both programs, and I love college football. And I think the bottom line is this: no matter how many players change teams, no matter how much money they get, the bottom line, David, is when the ball's kicked off, it's still a great game with great players. And I haven't seen it affect teams on the field other than the Blue Bloods are always going to be the Blue Bloods. Every once in a while, you'll have an Arizona State sneak in, pick last in the Big 12 last year and finish first. And that's one of the things that makes college football and basketball so exciting. So many players change teams. It's like watching a tennis match. But when they get on the field and the court, the product is as good or better than ever because a lot of the players are staying in school longer in football, which I think bothers the NFL when you see guys coming out of 6 years of college. I know Arkansas has a player turned 30 this offseason, and that shortens their NFL careers, but I think it's great for college football because the product is better than ever.
John, what do you think about the job Coach Elko is doing here with Texas A&M and the potential future?
I think it's interesting when he came back and he saw the mistakes that Jimbo Fisher had made. I've been to the Texas High School Coaches Association convention in San Antonio the last 2 years, and it kicks off with every Division I head coach in Texas on a stage. Craig Way, voice of the Longhorns, asked them questions. Jimbo's last year, he didn't even show up. Every other coach is there. And Mike Elko, because he's coached at A&M, he knows the mistakes that Jimbo made. And I think the way he talks, he's all ball. And I think that's what they need. He didn't have to have all 5-star recruits, guys going to be smoking pot in the locker room and transferring as soon as a coach yells at him. He's getting football players in there. And I think Elko's going to do a great job with the program because he's just a football coach.
John, I want to go to your youth when you were growing up in Waco and thinking about being a sports writer. Tell us how that all kind of unfolded.
David, I fell in love with the Baylor Bears in 1960 when I was a Cub Scout, and our troop went to Baylor Stadium, watched them beat Colorado. I came home, I was 8 years old. I told my dad I loved the Baylor Bears. And he hands me the sports section of the Waco Tribune-Herald when I was 8 and says, well, if you want to learn about Baylor, you got to read Dave Campbell. Dave, of course, was a 44-year sports editor at the Waco Tribune-Herald, hired me going into my junior year at Baylor at 73, and the founder of Texas Football Magazine. So I started trying to read. I couldn't understand 90% of what he wrote, but I saw the names, and I know what players were the best. That was the year the Cowboys were born, and they were terrible. The Oilers were born, and they were great. So I fell in love with the AFL because they threw the ball all over the place. The Oilers had great players those years, won the first 2 championships. Cowboys were awful, but I grew up a diehard Cowboys fan in Waco, and then I had an exorcism when I came to Houston to get that out of my system. And when I figured out you could get in ball games free, I thought I got to try to be a sports writer. And so that's what I did. I started working at the Waco Tribune-Herald part-time, taking football scores, track Aggie, anything I could to get my foot in the door. And then got left, and I was hired in June of 1973. Stayed there covering sports, came to the Chronicle in 1976 to cover the original Houston Aeros with Gordie Howe, Mr. Hockey, and his sons Mark and Marty. Didn't know squat about hockey because there was no internet back then to learn. I had to go to the Waco Public Library and try to read as much as I could about Gordie Howe, but I wouldn't trade those 2 years at all, traveling all over 2 countries when I'd only been on one plane in my life and covering hockey. And then they moved me to the Oilers, and my first training camp was 1977.
John is one of the few people that knows the party version of David Nuño. I want to go back to 2001, John. November 2001, I call you, a friend of ours, gave me your number, and you are so responsible for many folks in the sports industry of helping them get started. And I said, hey, I'm working on this soccer team in San Diego. I want to get back to Houston. And you took me under your wing, as you've done on multiple occasions, and helped me get a job with the Rockets, which later became a job with the Mavericks, and you know about the rest of my career. But you've done that for so many people. Where did that come from? You helping so many people, Nelson Louise, you name it. Like, you've helped Aaron Schneiders. I can just keep naming Carlos Perez, my dear friend. You've helped so many folks.
David, I guess it started one time when I was at the Waco Tribune-Herald and was sent to the Astrodome to write a column on Hank Aaron. And when I got into the press box, I didn't know where to go. Nobody said a word to me. Didn't see a PR guy. Didn't know any of the media. I sat in a seat. The guy comes over and says, you a member of the Baseball Writers of America? I said, no, well, you can't sit here. So I thought, you know what? That was a bad experience. And so one time at the Combine, I saw a guy come in like a deer caught in the headlights. And I went up and introduced myself. It turned out he was from the student newspaper in Michigan. And I said, well, what can I do to help you? He said, it's my first Combine. So I took him around. His name was Jim Weber. Took him around, introduced, and that last one I introduced him to, I said, this is Adam Schefter. He's a writer in Denver, and he went to Michigan. I said, this is Jim Weber, first time here from the Michigan paper. We want to help him. And so first time I went to the Pro Football Hall of Fame as a member of the committee, I was scared to death at a luncheon where I didn't think I should have been. And they said, you wouldn't be in this room if you weren't supposed to be here. And I sat off to the side. I had a Diet Coke. My hand was shaking so bad, I pressed it up against my chest, and I was ready to take a sip. And a guy comes over to me, the only Aggie in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And I knew who he was. And he said, we've all been there. I said, where? He said, where you are. He said, everybody came here for the first time, and you wouldn't be here if you didn't belong. And I said, I'm really nervous. And he said, well, let me introduce you around. I'm Yale Larry. And I knew who he was. And I shook his hand left-handed because I was afraid to take my right hand and have my Diet Coke spill on him. So Yale Larry took me around and introduced me to a lot of people. And every time I go to that luncheon and I see somebody like somebody from the Hall of Fame, anybody's there for the first time, I walk up, introduce myself, and say, can I introduce you around? And I get a big kick out of doing that because I keep thinking about what it was like to be in that Astrodome press box and being totally lost without help.
John, you're the absolute best. I want to remind folks it's going to be a great event. If you want to check it out, you can go to the American Heart Association's website, bryanawards.org/events to get more information on it. It is going to be on August the 26th, 11:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. A seat at Bear's table. John, thank you so much for joining us. We should do it more often, man. I miss you.
Well, David, thank you very much. I'll be up there October 4th. If you want stories about Gary Kubiak, let's do it again sometime before August 4th.
100%. Let's do it, sir. Thank you again. Appreciate you, John.
Thank you, David.
Thank you. John McClain, dear friend of mine for a long, long time, the best. All right, we'll hit a break here. One final segment on the other side. A moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. All right, you're looking for a vehicle, you need to go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet. You're trying to unload a vehicle, you got to go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Merge those two things together, you got a great experience, right? You're trying to get great trade-in value for your vehicle, Caldwell will take care of you. And when you're looking for a new vehicle that won't break the bank, that's the place to go. They have great pricing, a great selection, and of course, amazing customer service, which includes free oil changes for life as long as you own that vehicle from Caldwell Country Chevrolet. And they can also give you a pickup, right? Complimentary pickup and delivery for their service customers. We're talking about a 15-minute drive, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. A short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. Around the SEC is brought to you by the Jaxer Group, the body language alone. I knew the body language alone.
Had to manage 2 different studios today. I apologize.
Oh, good. No, we already prepared. I wasn't even going to go to you, Nick.
Awesome.
I was going to go to Nigren. Okay? But your body language was just funny.
Like, anyway,
I forgot. That's what it looked like.
Well, you read me perfectly. I did forget.
Yeah.
But thank you, Reese.
You're welcome.
Nigren, I don't think we have time for the full.
Well, yeah.
But where did Marcel Reed end up on a list?
So Bill Connolly of ESPN released his 40 most important players in college football this season. I don't really think it was an order. He did like different categories, but Marcel Reed was, if you're going by the numbers, number 14 on the list. He is the only Aggie on here in the young/inexperienced/new quarterbacks with both spoiler and contender potential, along with Lenore Sellers.
Right above him, right on that list?
Yeah, John Mateer was right above him. Lenoris at 11, Lagway at 12, and then Austin Simmons right below him at number 15.
Okay.
So.
And did any other Aggies make the list?
Marcel Reed was the only one.
Well, like 25 and 25, hopefully he redoes that list at the end of the year, and we've got a bunch of Aggies on that list, like Will Lee, like Torian York, right? Like Casey Concepcion.
I mean, I didn't really take the list serious when 4, 5, and 6 were C.J. Carr, Dante Moore, and Julian Sayin. So, I mean.
And who was number 1?
Arch Manning. Gunnar Stockton was number 2, and Ty Simpson was number 3. I think he just went through every quarterback in college football.
Yeah, he said, hey, let's get the top 100. Let's go. Boom. Anyway, anything else stick out from that list?
Not
really, huh?
Not a whole lot.
No. That's why I stick it with 25 and 25 and not the top. Is it 100 players? What is it? The
top 40.
Top 40.
I will say Jeremiah Smith was number 24 on the list.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's dumb.
Not buying
What was
it.
Ryan Williams?
He's number 27.
You know, he was a freshman last year.
He was only 17.
Yeah, believe it or not.
I don't think I heard it enough.
Did you know that Caden Kent's dad was Jeff Kent?
News to me.
Yeah. That's going to do it for TexAgs Live here on a Wednesday. Tomorrow on the show, Josh Pate joining us tomorrow. The fan show. Thanks, everybody, for watching and listening. We'll see you mañana.